hello there, my little friends, and welcome to another episode of Mr. Diablo's Bedtime Stories. My little friend. Tonight's story I'm going to tell you first is the story of Captain Howdy. It all began not too far from here, several years ago. There was a young boy named Danny who lived near here. He lived there with his grandmother. Well, his grandmother used to like to do the Ouija board in the middle of the night. They'd go up to the attic and they'd do the Ouija board and they'd call out to the spirits. They'd say, "Spirits, are you there? Spirits, are you there?" What did they do? Mr. Squeakley! Where was I? Good help, it's so hard to find. Anyway, they were doing the Ouija board one night when a spirit started talking back to him. It said,
"Yes, Danny, I'm here."
He said, Who is it? Who am I talking to? And the spirit said,
"My name is Captain Howdy."
He said, "Captain Howdy, why are you talking to us?" And the spirit wrote back,
"I've chosen you, Danny."
He said, "Chosen me? Chosen me for what?" And the spirit wrote back,
"Ha ha, you'll see."
Well, about a week later, Danny's grandmother died. She was old and she had a heart attack. Well, the boy was missing her, so he started going up to the attic in the middle of the night and taking out the Ouija board. And he'd call out, he'd say, "Granny, are you there, Granny?" Well, he was doing it one night when all of a sudden the Ouija board answered back and said,
"Yes, I'm here, Danny."
He said, "Is that you, Granny?" And it said,
"No, it's me, Captain Howdy."
He said, "Captain Howdy." He said, "Can I speak to my grandmother?" And the spirit wrote back,
"No."
And then wrote back something weird. It wrote,
"I'm going to come visit you tonight, Danny."
He said, "Visit me?" He said, "Aren't you here now?" And the spirit wrote back,
"No, but I'll come for real tonight."
He said, "Okay, Captain Howdy, I'll see you tonight. What time?" And the spirit wrote back,
"Midnight."
He said, "Okay, Captain Howdy, I'll see you at midnight." Well, that night, Danny was laying in his bed trying to sleep, when all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, when the clock struck midnight, he started hearing weird sounds under his bed, weird scratching sounds. He looked under his bed, but there was nothing there. Well, he went back, he was trying to sleep, when all of a sudden he heard a pounding on the wall. It went boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden he heard that pounding all around a cross that was hanging on the wall. Boom, 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 until the cross flew off the wall and it landed on the ground perfectly on end, upside down. While Danny was looking at that, all of a sudden, he felt something in his mattress. He jumped up. He ran down to his father's room. He knocked on the door. He said, "Dad," he said, "come quick. There's a ghost in my room." He said, "Danny," he said, "go to bed." He said, "No, Dad, for real." "Mr. Squeakley." I said, "I'll come down and check it out." He didn't really believe him, but he thought he'd look. Well, he went down to Danny's room and he saw the cross laying upside down on the ground. He said, "Danny, did you do that?" And the boy said, "Oh, Dad, it was Captain Howdy. Captain Howdy did it." He said, "Boy, you should never put a cross on the ground. That's the sign of evil. Right side up is the sign of God. Upside down is the sign of evil." Well, the boy said, "Dad, I didn't do it. It was Captain Howdy. Look, he's inside the mattress." His father looked, and sure enough, the mattress was moving up and down as if there was something inside of it. His father went up, he put his hand down on the mattress. He took his hand back immediately, because when he put his hand on the mattress, it felt like a claw had scraped the bottom of his hand. Well, now his father was freaked out. He said, "Go get a knife." The boy said, "Why?" He said, "Just do it." Well, he gave him the knife. His father took the knife. He said, "I think there's a rat inside your mattress." The boy said, "Dad, that ain't no rat. That's Captain Howdy." He said, "Back up. I don't believe in ghosts." He took the knife, and he plunged it in the mattress. He made a cut, and he opened it up. He started coughing, because a horrible smell came up. It smelled like dead bodies. It smelled like Squeakley's breath. It smelled terrible. Well, he looked around inside the mattress. He didn't see a rat. He didn't see any rat droppings or anything. The boy said, "See, Dad, I told you it was a ghost." He said, Shut up. I don't believe in that." And he pulled the sheet back over the hole, and he said, "Let's go to bed. Forget about it." Well, Danny went to bed, but he didn't forget about it. The next day, he went up to the attic. He took out the Ouija board again. He started calling out. He said, "Captain Howdy, are you there? Captain Howdy?" Well, the Ouija board started to move around, and it said,
"Yes, Danny, I'm here."
He said, "Captain Howdy." He said, "Why did you freak my dad out? And why'd you knock the cross off the wall?" Captain Howdy wrote back,
"Ha ha, wasn't that funny?"
The boy said, "Well, yeah, that was kind of funny." And then Captain Howdy wrote back, he wrote,
"I'm going to come to your school tomorrow."
He said, "My school?" He said, "What time?" And Captain Howdy wrote out,
"Third period."
Well, this is what happened in third period of Danny's class the next day. He was sitting in his class, minding his own business, sitting at his desk, when all of a sudden, his desk started to shake. Just a little bit at first. His teacher came over. She said, Danny, why are you shaking your desk? He said, it ain't me, it's Captain Howdy. Yeah. Well, she said, stop it. He sat back down and he held up his hands and he put up his feet to show he wasn't pushing off the ground. But even with his hands and his feet off the ground, the whole desk started to shake up and down. Boom, 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 it shook. Well, they called Danny's father. They took him to the office and they had him suspended that day. When Danny's father got him home, he sat him down in a chair and he said, Danny, why did you mess up at school? Why were you doing that? He said, it wasn't me. He said, it was Captain Howdy. His father said, there is no Captain Howdy. When he said that, all of a sudden, the chair the boy was sitting in suddenly leaned forward and threw the boy on the floor. And then the chair spun around without anybody there. His father felt around the chair, and all he could feel was cold air. Well, now his father knew there was a ghost. He grabbed his son. He took him up behind the house. He said, tell me everything you can tell me about Captain Howdy. The boy said, I don't know. I don't know anything about Captain Howdy. All I know is he talks to me. He says he's chosen me for something. His father said, wait a minute. He's chosen you for something? He said, yes, that's all I know. He said, boy, I don't like the sound of this. He said, I don't want you talking to Captain Howdy anymore. The boy said, I won't, Dad, I won't. But what is it the kids always do when an adult tells them not to do something? That's right. They do it anyway. So that's exactly what Danny did. The next day, he went up to the attic. He took out the Ouija board. He started calling out, Captain Howdy, are you there? Captain Howdy. The Ouija board started to move around and said,
Yes, Danny, I'm here.
I said, Captain Howdy. He said, why'd you get me in trouble with my dad? He said,
Ha-ha, isn't it funny?
He said, yeah. He said, Captain Howdy, will you tell me where you're from? I don't know where you're from. I got to know that. Then my dad will maybe let me play with you. And Captain Howdy wrote out.
You want to know where I'm from?
He wrote out H-E-L-L. Hell. Danny took his hands off the pointer. It started to move without him, and it wrote, See you tonight. Danny went, ah! He hit the pointer off the Ouija board. He was so scared. He folded it up. He put it back in his box. But he was so scared he'd get into trouble with his dad. He didn't say a word. He just ate his dinner without saying anything. Well, later that night, he was in his bed trying to sleep, when all of a sudden, when the clock struck midnight, all of a sudden, Danny started hearing those weird sounds again, the pounding on the walls, the scratching under his bed. Well, something happened to Danny. He got out of his bed, he ran down to his father's room, and he started pounding on the door. His father came to the door, he said, Danny, he said, what is it? Whoa. When he saw his son, he took a step back. He couldn't believe it, because his son had this evil, twisted look on his face, kind of like this. And his father said, Danny, why are you smiling like that? And the boy spoke in a man's voice, and he said,
My name's not Danny.
He said, what?
He said, my name is Captain Howdy.
He grabbed his father by the hand and tried to bite his hand like a dog would bite a bone. Ah! His father pulled his hand back. His son started wrestling him and grabbing him. He was spitting at him and cursing. His father had to call his wife for help because the boy had the strength of a man. Well, they wrestled with him all night, and after wrestling with him all night, finally the boy fell into a deep sleep. They pinched his cheeks. They slapped him. They tried to wake him up, but he wouldn't wake up, Mr. Skeekley. Nothing would happen. They finally took him up to his room, they put him in his bed, and they left him there. Well, he slept all day, but when it got dark outside again, Danny woke up. And he started smiling again. And he started running around the house, attacking everybody, screaming and yelling that he was Captain Howdy. Well, this went on for 3 days. And after 3 days, the family knew there was something terribly wrong with little Danny. So finally, they decided that they would take him to the hospital. Well, they did a brain scan. They took blood from him. They couldn't find anything wrong with little Danny. So finally, they called in the psychiatrist. And he said, I know what is wrong with the boy. He has a split personality. I will hypnotize him. It will solve everything. They said, please, whatever you can do. He said, that's no problem. So they took him to a back room. They sat him in a chair, and they took out a pocket watch. And they swung the watch back.